a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Kylie Minogue. Kylie Ann Minogue is an Australian-British singer and actress. She achieved recognition starring in the Australian soap opera Neighbours, where she played tomboy mechanic Charlene Robinson. Appearing in the series for 2 years, Minogue's character married Scott Robinson in an episode viewed by nearly 20 million people in the United Kingdom, making it one of the most watched Australian TV episodes ever. Since then, Minogue has been a recording artist and has achieved commercial success and critical acclaim in the entertainment industry. Minogue has been recognised with several honorific nicknames including Princess of Pop and Goddess of Pop. She is recognised as the highest-selling Australian artist of all time by the Australian Recording Industry Association. Born and raised in Melbourne, Australia, Minogue has worked and lived in the United Kingdom since the 1990s. She signed to record label PWL in 1987 and released her first studio album Kylie the next year. In 1992, she left PWL and signed with Deconstruction Records, where she released her self-titled studio album and Impossible Princess, both of which received positive reviews from critics. Returning to more mainstream dance-oriented music, Minogue signed to Parlophone and released Light Years. The follow-up, Fever, was a hit in many countries, including the United States. The lead single, Can't Get You Out of My Head, became one of the most successful singles of the 2000s, selling over 10 million units. It is recognized as her signature song, and was named the catchiest song ever by Yahoo Music. Other successful singles by Minogue include I Should Be So Lucky, The Locomotion, Especially For You, Hand on Your Heart, Better the Devil You Know, Confide in Me, Spinning Around, Love at First Sight, Slow, Two Hearts, and All the Lovers. In 2005, while Minogue was on her Showgirl, The Greatest Hits tour, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. After treatment, she resumed the tour under the title Showgirl, the Homecoming Tour, which critics viewed as a triumph. Minogue made her film debut in The Delinquents and portrayed Cammy in Street Fighter. Minogue has also appeared in the films Moulin Rouge, Jack and Diane, and Holy Motors. In 2014, she appeared as a judge on the third series of The Voice UK and The Voice Australia. Her other ventures include product endorsements, children's books and fashion. As of 2015, Minogue has had worldwide record sales of more than 80 million. She has mounted several successful and critically acclaimed concert world tours and received a MO Award for Australian Entertainer of the Year for her live performances. Minogue was appointed an Officer of the Order of the British Empire in the 2008 New Year Honours for services to music. She was appointed by the French government as a Chevalier of the Ordre des Arts et des Lettres for her contribution to the enrichment of French culture. Minogue was awarded an honorary Doctor of Health Science degree by Anglia Ruskin University for her work in raising awareness for breast cancer. In November 2011, on the 25th anniversary of the ARIA Music Awards, she was inducted by the Australian Recording Industry Association into the ARIA Hall of Fame. In December 2016, Billboard ranked her as the 18th most successful dance artist of all time. Minogue signed a new global recording contract with BMG Rights Management in early 2017. Her latest album Golden was released on the 6th of April 2018, debuting at #1 in the UK and Australia. 1968-1986, Early Life and Career Beginnings. Kylie was born to Ronald Charles Minogue and Carol Ann Jones in Melbourne, Australia, on the 28th of May 1968. Her father is a fifth-generation Australian and has Irish ancestry, while her mother came from Mystic, Wales. Jones had lived in Wales until age 10 when her mother and father, Millie and Dennis Jones, decided to move to Australia for a better life. Just before Kylie's birth, Ron qualified as an accountant and worked through several jobs while Carol worked as a professional dancer. Kylie's younger brother, Brendan, is a news cameraman in Australia, while her younger sister Dannii Minogue is also a singer and television host. The Minogue family frequently moved around various suburbs in Melbourne to sustain their living expenses, which Kylie found unsettling as a child. After the birth of Danny, the family moved to South Oakley. Because money was tight, Ron worked as an accountant at a family-owned car company and Carol worked as a tea lady at a local hospital. After moving to Surrey Hills, Melbourne, Minogue attended Studfield Primary School briefly before attending Camberwell Primary School. She went on to Camberwell High School. During her schooling years, Minogue found it difficult to make friends. She got her HSC with subjects including arts and graphics and English. Minogue described herself as being of average intelligence and quite modest during her high school years. From the age of 11, Kylie appeared in small roles in soap operas including The Sullivans and Skyways. In 1985, she was cast in one of the lead roles in The Henderson Kids. Minogue took time off school to film The Henderson Kids. And while Carol was not impressed, Minogue felt that she needed the independence to make it into the entertainment industry. During filming, co-star Nadine Garner labeled Minogue fragile after producers yelled at her for forgetting her lines. She would often cry on set. Minogue was dropped from the second season of the show after producer Alan Hardy felt the need for her character to be written off. In retrospect, Hardy stated that removing her from the showing turned out to be the best thing for her. Interested in following a career in music, Minogue made a demo tape for the producers of weekly music program Young Talent Time, which featured Danny as a regular performer. Kylie gave her first television singing performance on the show in 1985, but was not invited to join the cast. Kylie was cast in the soap opera Neighbours in 1986, as Charlene Mitchell, a schoolgirl turned garage mechanic. Neighbours achieved popularity in the UK, and a story arc that created a romance between her character and the character played by Jason Donovan culminated in a wedding episode in 1987 that attracted an audience of 20 million British viewers. Minogue became the first person to win 4 Logie Awards in 1 year and was the youngest recipient of the Gold Logie, as the country's most popular television performer, with the result determined by public vote. 1987-1989, Kylie and Enjoy Yourself. During a Fitzroy Football Club benefit concert with other Neighbours cast members, Minogue performed I Got You Babe as a duet with actor John Waters, and The Locomotion as an encore. She was subsequently signed to a recording contract with Mushroom Records in 1987. Her first single, The Locomotion, spent 7 weeks at #1 on the Australian singles charts, and became the country's highest-selling single in the 1980s. She received the ARIA Award for the year's highest-selling single. Its success resulted in Minogue traveling to England with Mushroom Records executive Gary Ashley to work with producers Stock, Aitken, and Waterman. They knew little of Minogue and had forgotten that she was arriving. As a result, they wrote I Should Be So Lucky while she waited outside the studio. The song reached #1 in the United Kingdom, Australia, Germany, Finland, Switzerland, Israel, and Hong Kong. Minogue won her second consecutive ARIA Award for the year's highest-selling single, and received a Special Achievement Award. Minogue's debut album, Kylie, was released in July 1988. The album was a collection of dance-oriented pop tunes and spent more than a year on the UK Albums Chart, including several weeks at #1. The album went gold in the United States, and the single, The Locomotion, reached #3 on the US Billboard Hot 100 chart, and #1 on the Canadian Singles Chart. The single, Got to Be Certain, became her third consecutive #1 single on the Australian music charts. Later in the year, she left Neighbours to focus on her music career. Minogue also collaborated with Jason Donovan for the song, Especially for You, which peaked at #1 in the United Kingdom, and in December 2014 sold its 1 millionth copy in the UK. Minogue was sometimes referred to as the singing budgie by her detractors over the coming years. In a review of the album Kylie for All Music, Chris True described the tunes as standard, late 80s bubblegum, but added, her cuteness makes these rather vapid tracks bearable. Minogue's second album Enjoy Yourself was released in October 1989. The album was a success in the United Kingdom, Europe, New Zealand, Asia and Australia, and spawned #1 singles, Hand on Your Heart, and Tears on My Pillow. However, it failed to sell well throughout North America, and Minogue was dropped by her American record label Geffen Records. She then embarked on her first concert tour, the Enjoy Yourself Tour, in the United Kingdom, Europe, Asia and Australia in February 1990. She was also one of the featured vocalists on the remake of Do They Know It's Christmas? Minogue's debut film, The Delinquents, was released in December 1989. The movie received mixed reviews by critics, but proved popular with audiences. In the UK it grossed more than £200,000, and in Australia, it was the fourth highest grossing local film of 1989 and the highest grossing local film of 1990. 1990, 1992, Rhythm of Love and Let's Get to It. Minogue's third album, Rhythm of Love, was released in November 1990 and was described as leaps and bounds more mature than her previous albums. Her relationship with Michael Hutchence was also seen as part of her departure from her earlier persona. Its lead single, Better the Devil You Know, became one of Minogue's most famous songs, and peaked at #2 in the UK and 4 in her native Australia. Rhythm of Love's second and fourth single, Step Back in Time, and Shocked, were both a top 10 hit in the UK and Australia. She then embarked on the Rhythm of Love tour in February 1991. Minogue's fourth album, Let's Get to It, was released in October 1991 and reached #15 on the UK Albums Chart. It was her first album to fail to reach the top 10. While the first single from the album, Word Is Out, became her first single to miss the top 10 of the UK Singles Chart, subsequent singles, If You Are With Me Now and Give Me Just a Little More Time, both reached the top 5. In support of the album, she embarked on the Let's Get to It tour in October. She later expressed her opinion that she was stifled by Stock, Aitken, and Waterman, saying, "I was very much a puppet in the beginning. I was blinkered by my record company. I was unable to look left or right." Her first greatest hits album was released in August 1992. It reached #1 in the United Kingdom and #3 in Australia. The singles from the album, What Kind of Fool, and her cover version of Kool and the Gang's Celebration, both reached the top 20 of the UK Singles Chart. 1993, 1998, Kylie Minogue and Impossible Princess. Minogue's signing with Deconstruction Records in 1993 marked a new phase in her career. Her fifth album, Kylie Minogue, was released in September 1994 and sold well in Europe and Australia. It was produced by dance music producers The Brothers in Rhythm, namely Dave Seaman and Steve Anderson, who had previously produced Finer Feelings, her last single with PWL. As of 2015, Anderson continued to be Minogue's musical director. The lead single, Confide in Me, spent 4 weeks at #1 on the Australian Singles Chart. The next two singles from the album, Put Yourself in My Place and Where Is the Feeling, reached the top 20 on the UK Singles Chart, while the album peaked at #4 on the UK Albums Chart, eventually selling 250,000 copies. During this period, Minogue made a guest appearance as herself in an episode of the comedy The Vicar of Dibley. Director Stephen E. D'Souza saw Minogue's cover photo in Australia's Who magazine as one of the 30 most beautiful people in the world, and offered her a role opposite Jean-Claude Van Damme in the film Street Fighter. The film was a moderate success, earning $70 million in the US, but received poor reviews, with the Washington Post's Richard Harrington calling Minogue the worst actress in the English-speaking world. She had a minor role in the 1996 film Biodome starring Pauly Shore and Stephen Baldwin. She also appeared in the 1995 short film Hayride to Hell and in the 1997 film Diana and Me. In 1995, Minogue collaborated with Australian artist Nick Cave for the song Where the Wild Roses Grow. Cave had been interested in working with Minogue since hearing Better the Devil You Know, saying it contained one of pop music's most violent and distressing lyrics. The music video for their song was inspired by John Everett Miller's painting Ophelia, and showed Minogue as the murdered woman, floating in a pond as a serpent swam over her body. The single received widespread attention in Europe, where it reached the top 10 in several countries, and reached number 2 in Australia. The song won ARIA awards for Song of the Year and Best Pop Release. Following concert appearances with Cave, Minogue recited the lyrics to I Should Be So Lucky as poetry in London's Royal Albert Hall. By 1997, Minogue was in a relationship with French photographer Stéphane Sednaoui, who encouraged her to develop her creativity. Inspired by a mutual appreciation of Japanese culture, they created a visual combination of geisha and manga superheroine for the photographs taken for Minogue's sixth album Impossible Princess and the video for German Bold Italic, Minogue's collaboration with Tao Te. She drew inspiration from the music of artists such as Shirley Manson and Garbage, Bjork, Tricky and U2, and Japanese pop musicians such as Pizzicato 5 and Tao Te. The album featured collaborations with musicians including James Dean Bradfield and Sean Moore of the Manic Street Preachers. Mostly a dance album, Minogue countered suggestions that she was trying to become an indie artist, acknowledging that she had attempted to escape the perceptions of her that had developed during her early career. She commented that she was ready to forget the painful criticism and accept the past, embrace it, use it. The music video for Did It Again paid homage to her earlier incarnations, retitled Kylie Minogue in the UK following the death of Diana, Princess of Wales. It became the lowest-selling album of her career. At the end of the year, a campaign by Virgin Radio stated, "We've done something to improve Kylie's records, we've banned them." In Australia, the album was a success and spent 35 weeks on the album chart. Minogue's Intimate and Live tour in 1998 was extended due to demand. She gave several live performances in Australia, including the 1998 Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras, and the opening ceremonies of Melbourne's Crown Casino and Sydney's Fox Studios in 1999, as well as a Christmas concert in Dili, East Timor, in association with the United Nations peacekeeping forces. She played a small role in the Australian-made Molly Ringwald 2000 film cut 1999-2004, Light Years, Fever, and Body Language. After Minogue parted ways with Deconstruction Records, she performed a duet with the Pet Shop Boys on their Nightlife album and spent several months in Barbados performing in Shakespeare's The Tempest. She then appeared in the film Sample People and recorded a cover version of Russell Morris' The Real Thing for the soundtrack. In April 1999, she signed with Parlophone Records, which wanted to re-establish Minogue as a pop artist. In September 2000, Minogue released her seventh studio album, Light Years. The album was a collection of dance songs, influenced by disco music. It generated strong reviews and was successful throughout Australia, Asia, Europe, and New Zealand. The lead single, Spinning Around, became her first #1 in the United Kingdom in 10 years. And its accompanying video featured Minogue in revealing gold hot pants, which came to be regarded as a trademark. The second single, On a Night Like This, reached #1 in Australia and #2 in the United Kingdom. Kids, a duet with Robbie Williams, also peaked at #2 in the United Kingdom. She then embarked on the On a Night Like This tour, which played to sell-out crowds in Australia and the United Kingdom. The tour incorporated burlesque and theatre and cited the style of Broadway shows such as 42nd Street, films such as Anchors Away, South Pacific, The Fred Astaire, and Ginger Rogers musicals of the 1930s and the live performances of Bette Midler as inspiration. Minogue was praised for her new material and her reinterpretations of some of her greatest successes. She won a MO Award for Australian Live Entertainment as Performer of the Year. She also appeared in the 2001 film Moulin Rouge as the Green Fairy. In October 2001, Minogue released her eighth studio album Fever. The album contained disco elements combined with 1980s electropop and synthpop. It reached #1 in Australia, United Kingdom, and throughout Europe, eventually achieving worldwide sales in excess of 8 million. The album's lead single, Can't Get You Out of My Head, became the biggest success of her career, reaching #1 in more than 40 countries and selling over 5 million copies. She won 4 ARIA Awards including a Most Outstanding Achievement Award and 2 Brit Awards for Best International Female Solo Artist and Best International Album. Following extensive airplay by American radio, Capitol Records released the song and the album Fever in the US in 2002. The album debuted on the Billboard 200 Albums chart at number 3, and Can't Get You Out of My Head reached number 7 on the Hot 100. The subsequent singles, In Your Eyes, Love at First Sight, and Come Into My World, were successful throughout the world, and Minogue established a presence in the mainstream North American market, particularly in the club scene. She followed the success of the album by touring the United States with the Jingle Ball Festival. In April 2002, Minogue embarked on the Kylie Fever 2002 tour, which became the biggest production she had put on to date. Later that year, she worked in a voice role on the animated film The Magic Roundabout, which was released in 2005 in Europe. In 2003, she received a Grammy Award nomination for Best Dance Recording for Love at First Sight, and the following year won the same award for Come Into My World. In November 2003, Minogue released her 9th studio album Body Language following an invitation-only concert, titled Money Can't Buy, at the Hammersmith Apollo in London. The album downplayed the disco style and was inspired by 1980s artists such as Scritti Politti, The Human League, Adam and the Ants and Prince, blending their styles with elements of hip-hop. The sales of the album were lower than anticipated after the success of Fever, though the first single, Slow, was a #1 hit in the United Kingdom and Australia. 2 more singles from the album were released, Red-Blooded Woman and Chocolate. In the US, Slow reached #1 on the club chart and received a Grammy Award nomination in the Best Dance Recording category. Body Language achieved first-week sales of 43,000 and declined significantly in the second week. In November 2004, Minogue released her second official greatest hits album entitled Ultimate Kylie. The album yielded 2 singles, I Believe in You and Giving You Up. I Believe in You was later nominated for a Grammy Award in the category of Best Dance Recording. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?